This is Robert Stearns. Hey, I want to thank you for tuning in. I really believe that learning is one of the greatest joys in life. And one of the greatest ways to learn is simply to have meaningful conversations, both with those who come from a similar background as yours, as well as those whose background might be very different. So my hope is that as we connect and converse with leaders from all around the world, that we will learn and grow together. If you're new with us, hit the subscribe button and we'll deliver the new episodes to you right away. So wherever you are, on a run, in the car, at the kitchen table with some coffee, welcome to the conversation. And welcome everybody, Thursday night. Welcome to Bishop and the Rabbi. So good to be with you. Man, I love this time every week that we get to come together and we get to, look at the Parsha of the week, look at the scriptures that our Jewish brothers and sisters are studying this week, connect to those scriptures that are the root of the Christian faith, and learn from a Jewish perspective about these powerful words that are the foundation for our faith. They're the scriptures that Jesus studied. They're the scriptures that the Apostle Paul studied, all of the early leaders of the church. And it's fantastic to have you with us tonight. In just a few minutes, I'm going to introduce our rabbi for the week. But before I do, I have a few quick announcements to give us to keep us on the same page. Number one, hopefully you've gotten the email from us. We're so excited and blessed by this wonderful matching gift end of year challenge that we've received from Rabbi Erica Gerson and Mark Gerson, $250,000, a match from now till the end of the year. So you have just 2 weeks. So any gift that you give up to $250,000 will be matched between now and the end of this year. So if you'll go to eagleswings.org/donate 2022. Okay, so eagleswings.org/donate 2022, 2022. Your gift will be doubled. Listen, if you've never made a gift to Eagles Wings, or if it's been a long time, could I invite you to partner with us? We believe that this message of a Jerusalem-based Christianity, which was the worldview of the early church, folks. We're going pre-Constantine, pre the Roman Greco version of the church that set in. What was the early church and how do we walk that out? Join us in making a difference. eagleswings.org/donate 2022. Also, if you are looking for that perfect last minute Christmas gift, I've got it for you. All right, go to psalmsmasterclass.com. Our Psalms class comes with an absolutely gorgeous, I wish I had it, but an amazing, gorgeous book of Psalms put together by the amazing Reuben Abraimoff. This is, they call it a book. It's a work of art. It's a thick, embossed, hardcover, beautiful book of the Psalms in a way that you've never seen, and then comes with the 12-session course on the Psalms that will be an incredible blessing to you and your loved ones. So go to psalmsmasterclass.com. It is a perfect gift for Hanukkah or for Christmas this year. Jews and Gentiles alike will love the class taught by our Orthodox rabbi friend, Reuben Abraimoff, and the book. East Coast 2023 is coming up. Go to eagleswings.org/2023 for the dates and the information on the conference. And of course, join us. Another great end of year gift, plant a tree in Israel. Go to eagleswings.org/forest to join us in planting a tree in the land of Israel. Well, I am so excited to welcome back our rabbi tonight. He was a guest with us once about a year ago. I was attending a banquet in Dallas, Texas with Vice President Mike Pence. I actually had the privilege of being on the program that night. I spoke a few words and I sang 3 songs that evening when Vice President Pence was there. And I met a amazing, amazing Jewish couple. And I'm telling you what, like every good parent, I met them, and within minutes they were talking about their kids, and they said, well, our son is the premier rabbi in Houston, Texas, and all of Texas, and everything is bigger in Texas. And we met for the first time Rabbi Brian Strauss. He is at Congregation Beth Yeshurun in Houston, Texas. And he was such a hit with us last year. His biography, all of the incredible things that he is involved in, would take so much time away from hearing his heart and hearing his mind. So I want to get to him, but he's the past president of the Houston Rabbinic Association. He's the author of To Life, to Family, to Me, 6 Keys to a Good Family Life, which was an Amazon.com #1 bestseller. His wife, Lisa, is a practicing attorney, and they have 3 amazing children. Would you help me in welcoming back to Bishop and the Rabbi, Rabbi Strauss? How are you, sir?
I'm great, Bishop. It's great to see you, and I'm honored to be part of your program again, and I thank you for all that you're doing.
Well, great to have you back with us. And, Rabbi, it's exciting times, but it's challenging times. How are you as a leader of a faith community? How are you juggling? There are signs that are really alarming in our culture. There's a toxicity and there's a poisonous that I don't remember in public discourse. I was really, really young, like I was single digits young, but I vaguely remember the end of the Vietnam era where there was a lot of rancor and vitriol in society. But since then, I don't think we've had what we have, right now in society, the kind of polarization. And yet at the same time, Rabbi, we're sitting here having a conversation. That wouldn't have happened a generation ago. It certainly wouldn't have happened a century ago. So on one hand, you've got these incredible signs of hope and reconciliation and great faith-based humanity coming through. And on the second side, there's these real causes for fear and concern. How are you as a faith leader directing people right now, encouraging people right now?
I appreciate you saying that. And that's why I commend you all the more so for doing what you're doing. Because the best way to combat the anti-Semites and the hatred out there is to show unity and love and the study of God's words and bringing God's goodness into this world. And so that's why I'm not concerned. I mean, I'm concerned, but I'm not concerned. I'm concerned for the anti-Semites out there, that there have been some anti-Semites recently that have been more vocal in their hatred. But I'm not concerned from the standpoint that we as Jews have dealt with anti-Semitism since the time of Pharaoh in the book of Exodus. Pharaoh was really the world's first anti-Semite, which I know,
right.
You'll be studying, and rabbis and Jews around the world will be studying in a few weeks in the book of Exodus. And so, we as Jews have always dealt with some people out there who hate us for trying to bring God's world into this world, for trying to make this world better. It's interesting that Hanukkah is coming up in just a few weeks. Hanukkah is our festival of light, and we will continue to try to bring light into this world, no matter who is out there spewing their hatred towards us. So, the anti-Semites will come and go, but the Jews will always be here.
And history has proven that time and time and time again. I think Correct. It was Mark Twain who said, all things are mortal except the Jews.
That's right.
The Jewish people, every generation. And of course, there's 2 parts to that. There is the truth of God. The Bible tells us that God keeps his covenant to 1,000 generations. But Right. There's also the tenacity of the Jewish people who I think choose to be chosen. They make that choice in every generation. Will they be the chosen people? Will they be those who accept the responsibility of Jewishness? And certainly, Rabbi, you lead us in such exemplary ways in that testimony, and we're so grateful. Well,
Thank
folks, we are going to study tonight from Genesis chapter 37. Genesis chapter 37 is where we are in the Parsha this week. And Rabbi, is it pronounced Vayeshev?
Because Vayeshev.
Vayeshev. So kind of a slight accent on the second symbol.
Correct.
Syllable.
Correct.
Syllable. Vayeshev. And Rabbi, I just want to start out. What does Vayeshev mean? What does that word literally mean?
So, Jacob is finally settled, right? Vayeshev means settled. And it's Vayeshev Yaakov Ba'eretz. Jacob was settled in the land where his father had sojourned, the land of Canaan. This then is the line of Jacob. And, maybe Jacob could finally find some peace, right? Poor Jacob. He's been through everything, right? He's had to deal with an angry brother. He's had to deal with leaving his wicked father-in-law. Is he finally settled? Well, we're going to soon find out that he's far from settled.
Well, let's just pause there for a second, because I could not agree with you more. I mean, when we think of the three patriarchs, right? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all of them had their share of drama, their share of interesting stories, right? Like all of us have our issues in life. But man, Jacob is over the top. I mean, this poor guy has it's literally the days of our lives. I mean, it is drama after drama after drama.
You feel bad for him. I mean, some people will say, well, maybe, he's feeling what it was like his father felt, because he lied to his father, tried to pretend he was Esau. And now his children are about to do the same thing to him when they lie to him and tell him that his favorite son, Joseph, has been killed. So maybe Jacob, maybe it's karma, right? Jacob feels what he put his father through. But despite that, Jacob has been through a lot, and he's about to experience even more tragedy. And this is really what this Parsha in many ways is about who comes after Jacob. But it's the challenges Jacob deals with. And then we move to his favorite son, Joseph, and the challenges he's going to face. Well,
and again, not to dwell on it too long, but Jacob, of course, is this one who wrestles, right? He has that wrestling match with, and some say he was wrestling with God. Some say he was wrestling with an angel. Some say he was wrestling with himself. I say he was probably wrestling with all three, because I think all of those are the case, right? When we wrestle with God, we're really wrestling with ourselves and our alignment with who God calls us to be, etc. And in the midst of that, Jacob's name is changed. And that's what happens for us. Our personalities grow, our identities evolve. We become someone better, someone different when we wrestle through the things of life, instead of just kind of pushing them off and living a life of superficiality, living a life of avoidance. When we tackle those things head on, there's a change that comes to our life. And Jacob, of course, even his name is changed at the end. So Jacob, everybody, we're in Genesis 37.
And Rabbi, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I love what you said. And like we read that last week, right? And Jacob's name is changed to Yisrael, which means literally to struggle with God. And so he's struggling with God. And that's exactly right. I mean, we all go through our struggles, and that's okay, because that's, Jacob's name. It's a blessing. And that's why he gets that name. It's a struggle.
All right, folks, we're going to dive into this in depth. So Rabbi, take it away. We're going to start in Genesis 37. And I find this so interesting, because it says this is the account of Jacob, right, in verse 2. But then we go into the story of Joseph, because in so many ways, the story of our children is our story. They're living out our thing. But Rabbi, take us through, what are the 2 or 3 key points in this Parsha that are relevant for us today that you want us to take away? Just go ahead and take it from the beginning.
Sure. We learn a lot about parenting and family dynamics. If you're blessed with having more than one child, don't show favoritism. I mean, I think is lesson number 1. I'm blessed with 3 children, and I try to do my best to show them equal amounts of love and respect and attention. Well, you think Jacob would have known better, because he knew what it was like to have a mother who favored him, but a father who favored his brother, his twin brother Esau. Well, Joseph has several children. He has 12 sons. at least one daughter, and yet he favors Joseph amongst all of them. And he shows it right at the beginning of the Parsha. What does he give Joseph? He gives him that colored coat, right? That famous tunic, that ornamented tunic that we know about. And
Right.
I mean, if there's anything to anger siblings, is giving this beautiful piece of clothing to just one of the brothers. And Joseph, it doesn't do Joseph well, because what does Joseph do right at the beginning? He shares these dreams. And dreams are a big part of our Torah portion, Bishop. I mean,
Right.
Joseph at the very beginning shares these dreams that he has sheaves of the field bowing down to him, that he has stars bowing down to him. And they're all symbolizing his brothers and his parents. And so he may be having these dreams, but anyone who's smart enough to know, don't share them with the people that you're basically saying you're going to bow down to me one day. Now, granted, that does come true later on, but the fact is, keep that to yourself. But Joseph is so immature, he can't help himself because he's been favored by his father. He's been given all these extra favors. He doesn't have to do the work that his brothers do. He doesn't have to do the extra chores around the house, and he's given this beautiful coat. So I guess it's no surprise that Joseph would be so immature, is to share these dreams that basically symbolize everyone bowing down to him. So imagine the angers the brothers have. First of all, they have this favored brother, doesn't have to work as hard as they do. Then he shares dreams and tells them, you're basically going to bow down to me one day. So you almost can't blame the brothers for hating him so much. And you have to blame Jacob.
Yeah, exactly. Because in a way, you really almost can't blame Joseph for his kind of pride or immaturity, because the father has kind of created that culture. Like I tell my kids, whenever I sit down with my three sons, I say, guys, I might be correcting you about this or correcting you about that. But I say to them, if I'm getting really angry, if I'm getting really upset about something, I guarantee you that it's something I'm seeing in you that I haven't been able to conquer in myself.
Yeah.
In other words, the character flaws that I really go after you about are the ones that I'm so fearful that you have because I wasn't good at them. You know, I struggle being places on time. It's just not one of my strengths. Somebody said, punctuality is the art of kings. And I said, well, then put me down as a duke, because I'm perennial. I'm always 5 minutes, 10 minutes late to everything. And I don't like that about myself. It bothers me about myself. And so when my kids end up being, I think, no, that's the worst of me. I don't want to pass on the worst of me. So and yet I say to myself, they're that way because consciously or subconsciously, they've picked that up, you know, from modeling it after me. So, and yet, of course, at the same time, at some point in their journey, they have to accept responsibility if they're going to grow. We can't grow out of things that we blame on others. We have to, at some point, absorb responsibility for that. So there's this interesting dynamic of, in a certain way, Joseph is set up for his challenges because his father has made him entitled. His father has given him so much blessing that it's to his fault. And yet Joseph himself is not wise in how he handles these things.
Yeah. And look, he's 17. He's young.
Right.
And I love what you said. You know, a rabbi, one of my teachers once said, you know, you can blame your parents for putting you through trauma, but you can't blame them for the actions you take. And so ultimately, it's going to take a while for Joseph to get there. And he will fairly soon. But for now, he is very immature and young. And you know, Jacob, for whatever reason, has not raised him well. But look, there's a lot to learn here. That's the beauty of the scriptures, right? It's also a lot about family dynamics and some of the worst of family dynamics. Yeah. And we see the dangers of some of the mistakes our ancestors made. The Jacob, I mean, one of the patriarchs.
Yeah, 100%. So take us through what happens next, Rabbi. Where do we go?
So he has this dream, and the brothers are even more angry. His father keeps it in mind. And then it moves to this incredible scene. And what I think one of the most important, incredible scenes of the entire Torah is that basically the brothers are out working in the pastures and the flocks in Shechem. And Joseph's not working with them. All it says is Israel. Jacob says to Joseph, your brothers are out pasturing at Shechem. Come, I'll send you to them. Go check on them. Make sure they're doing their work. So I think it's interesting. One, like I said, Joseph what's he doing? He's 17. Yeah. He could be out there working in the fields. He is the youngest brother. Is that saying that Joseph really didn't have to work? Or is that saying that Jacob was afraid to have Joseph out there with them, that they may do something to him? But yet he's going to send him out to check on him. He doesn't even does he not trust them? Why doesn't he go check on him? Why does he send Joseph out by himself? And here's what I love, Bishop, and I think this is so cool. It says, when he reached Shem, and then I'm looking at verse 15 in chapter 37.
Yep.
A man came upon him wandering in the fields. The man asked him, what are you looking for? He answered, I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are pasturing? And the man said, they've gone from here, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. So Joseph followed his brothers and found them there. Who is this man? And we never hear from him again. We don't have his name. We don't know who he is. How did he know where the brothers were? Why did he come upon Joseph? We never know who this person is. And there's a lot of great commentaries. Is it an angel? Is it an angel to make sure that Joseph does find them? Is it an unknown mysterious man? Is it by coincidence?
Right.
I think we can learn a lot from this, that this particular person changed history. I mean, if Joseph doesn't find his brothers, he's not sold into slavery, and he doesn't end up in Egypt, and the Jewish people don't end up in Egypt. We don't end up slaves, and the Jewish people probably, aren't here because we don't go through the Exodus story. So this one man changes history. He could have just been some guy wandering the fields looking to help someone in need.
Right.
I mean, you never know what actions you take, what ramifications are there. You never know what it can lead to.
Rabbi, I love that. I just came back a few days ago. Other than obviously Jerusalem is our passion, but I'm based here on the East Coast, so we do a lot in New York and New York City. But other than that, the city of Los Angeles is really one of our major hubs. I mean, we do a lot in LA. We've got phenomenal friendships and synagogues and churches, and we've done literally dozens and dozens and dozens of events out in LA.
Good.
And I just came back from LA. I got to go to the Lakers game, by the way, which was fun.
Nice.
And but as I landed in LA, I started thinking, and Rabbi, I remembered the very first time that I was invited to an event in Los Angeles. Now, this is going back 20 years or so, probably more, probably 25 years. And I just realized, I thought to myself, my goodness, and there was this precious old pastor. He's passed away since then, but he was a wonderful, wonderful, godly. He was a light. He was just a tremendous man. And he had invited me to LA to do this leadership gathering with these various people. And Rabbi, I looked back and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, every single relationship that I have in LA, and I've got hundreds of them, literally stem back to this one first introductory meeting that my brother invited me to. And I thought to myself, you never can underestimate, right? You can't underestimate a meeting, a conversation, a chance encounter. And that's what you're saying to us out of this nameless guy.
Yeah.
He points things in the direction, and that's the first domino that starts all this subsequent. And so that puts upon us, folks, listen, the littlest random act, if we imbue it with a sense of holiness, of sacredness, of purpose, of intentionality, you don't know what God can do. And modern day science, Rabbi, is beginning to prove that, right? They call it the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
That the littlest thing over here in the natural world can produce a huge change that nobody knows over there. And so that's what you're saying. This is the scriptural reference of the butterfly effect. You found it.
Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but you're right. I love that. And it's fascinating that not only did it happen, but I always look at why does the Torah tell us it happened? The Torah could have just said Joseph came across his brothers. He found them in Shechem or Dotan, right? But the Torah goes out of its way to spend a few verses telling us that Joseph came upon this random man who pointed him in the right direction. Yeah. And so is the Torah trying to teach us some wisdom there? And I think so.
Yeah, I think that's so. Incredible. Yeah. And so may each of, I mean, folks, let's have that. I'm going to have that as a takeaway today. Guard your words, put grace on them, put intentionality on them, because you don't know that God may be using your words in someone else's life or situation to accomplish something far beyond, what you could imagine. Absolutely. So Rabbi, we come now to this really kind of like tragic moment where Joseph really is set upon by his brothers. And there's this, terrible betrayal. Some of them move to kill him. I think it's Reuben who speaks out somewhat in his defense and keeps them from killing him. But in the end, they do betray him and they sell him into slavery. And Rabbi, what I want to I'll put you on the spot here a little bit, but none of us are going to get very far in this life without experiencing the pain at some level of betrayal. Now, please God, it's not anywhere near as dramatic as this, that you're not thrown in a pit and sold into slavery. But I'll tell you, some of us have gone through experiences. If you've gone through the pain of a divorce, if you've got, some of us have gone through horrible situations where there's been very, very deep pain and it feels like you're thrown in a pit. It feels like these things happen. And of course, we're reminded as Christians, we're reminded of Jesus, who is betrayed by Judas. Judas is one of the 12. Judas is one of his close associates. It's not some Roman centurion or some, it's one of Jesus' close associates who betrays him then eventually to Rome. So speak to us for a moment about this question of betrayal, this question of just this utter disappointment. And I don't think we're going to get through life without experiencing some degree of it. And yet we don't want to become embittered. We don't want to become we don't want our default mechanism to be distrust, right? Maybe we don't want to have blatant, open trust all the time, but we don't want to live in distrust. That's an unhealthy place to live. Navigate us through some of this.
Yeah, great points. And it is disheartening. You can't blame the brothers for not liking Joseph, but to want to kill him. And, it's interesting too, that, what did they say? They say, here comes that dreamer. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits. And you know where you can find that verse? And have you been to Memphis and seen where MLK was killed?
In Memphis, I have not. No.
When you go to Memphis next time, there's an incredible civil rights museum. And it's right where Martin Luther King was killed, at the hotel there in Memphis. Yep. In the 1968, I believe it was. And this verse is there dedicated to Martin Luther King. It says, here comes that dreamer. Come now, let us kill him. Wow. So here's Joseph, this dreamer. And like Martin Luther King, and a wonderful dreamer of a better world. We all envision a better world. And yet his brothers didn't want to hear about his dreams. They wanted to kill him. Joseph's dreams upset him so much that they wanted to kill him. They were willing to betray their brother because those dreams put them and upset them so much that how could this kid, this punk who's favored by our father, claim to have dreams, or we're going to bow down to him one day? Let's kill this dreamer. And so I think the betrayal doesn't necessarily come from the favoritism. It comes from the fact that they don't want to have to bow down to this guy one day. So let's get rid of him so we are never subservient to him. Wow. At least Reuben and Judah, I'm not saying, Reuben says cast him in the pit, and then Reuben plans to go back later and get him out. And then Judah's like, let's sell him to these slaves. These slave traders, let's make a little money on this. Let's just get rid of them, but let's not kill him. So maybe, Reuben and Judah, maybe they understood that they couldn't stand up against the other brothers, but maybe they didn't do enough to save their brother. And nevertheless, they go on, they create this plan to deceive their father. So it's disheartening, but it's that idea that they were going to become subservient to their brother that I think really sets them off, because they call him a dreamer and they don't like the fact that he's dreaming these strange dreams.
Well, and I mean, it's not too much to draw a line to say that that same principle, even in the MLK, example that you're giving, right? Like, dreams challenge other power structures. A dream of a different world, a dream of a different result can challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
And so too often, preemptively, those who serve to, or those who are in danger of being challenged by dreams, can attack. I mean, we're seeing this horrible crackdown in Iran.
Yeah.
On these young girls are dreaming of not having to have the morality police telling them how to dress.
Right.
The basic human right that they should be able to, choose what they wear and not wear. And yet that's challenging to the theocracy, right? To the despotic theocracy of the Iranian regime. So dreams are powerful. Dreams have impact. And I think that we should not be surprised when there's going to be pushback from powers that be that challenge our dream. But we don't see this so much in the case of Joseph. The case of Joseph is really almost a lone story. But normally speaking, we can be confident that there are other dreamers out there sharing our dream. I think of Elijah. We'll just jump stories for a moment. And Elijah is at the brook and he's in despair. He's in depression. He needs Prozac. And he's saying, I'm done. I want to give up. I'm alone. Everyone has left you, God. I'm the only one left. And God says, no. There are 7,000 who have not bowed their knee to Baal. God reminds Elijah, you feel alone, but you are not alone. There are other people out there dreaming of a righteous future, a better future. And that is one of the blessings of, there's a lot of things I don't like about social media, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the blessings is you can find a place of connectivity. I mean, I get to turn on a button and talk to a rabbi in Houston who gets up every day and tries to make Houston a better community, who takes time out of his busy schedule to spend time with Christians. I mean, we're not paying him an honorarium today for his time. He's not, his congregation isn't paying him to do this, but he's just here out of the goodness of his heart to strengthen the Jewish-Christian dialogue, because these things matter. So hold on to your dreams and reach out to other people who are dreamers, because it really does make a difference.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. And ultimately Joseph's dreams, his dreams end up serving him well, but at this point, right. Not so well, but you're right, because he's going to grow and we're going to see a major difference. And I think the major difference, Bishop, is at the end of the Torah portion, we see Joseph, Joseph acknowledges the fact that it's God who's given him this gift to interpret dreams.
Well, let's go ahead and go there now, because our time is starting to run short. We go now towards the end of the parsha, which will be in chapter 40. And we've got Joseph. I always joke about this one, the baker and the candlestick maker and whatever it is. I from that kid's.
The cupbearer.
But this is the cupbearer and the baker.
Yeah.
So take us there. And I'm right with you, Rabbi. It's incredible to me. Joseph is in prison. He's got every reason to just shrivel up and, but he still is holding on to I find that one of the most remarkable things in all of Scripture, that after everything he's been through, he still is listening and paying attention to the power of dreams. That's mind blowing to me. Yeah. And so pick it up there for it.
Right. And in this incredible scene where everything starts to go, things are bad for Joseph, then they get good in Potiphar's home, and then Potiphar's wife falsely accuses him of trying to rape her. He ends up in jail, but then things are good for him because he, the warden of the jail sees that everything Joseph does for him, things work out well. And then he hears these two guys, this cupbearer and this baker, and he interprets their dreams correctly, right? The cupbearer, basically, he tells them in 3 days, you're going to get out. Pharaoh's going to pardon you. But the baker, in 3 days, Pharaoh's not going to forgive you. He's going to impale you on the stake and things are not going to be good for you. And sure enough, they go true. And Jacob asks the cupbearer, remember me, tell the Pharaoh about me, that I have this, because of God, I have this ability to interpret dreams. Yeah. Well, what happens? The cupbearer gets out and the parsha ends at Yosef vayishkahehu. And yet the chief cupbearer did not think of Joseph. He forgot him. So Joseph's left in jail. The cupbearer doesn't say, Pharaoh, by the way, you got to go talk to this guy, Joseph. This guy is amazing. He forgets him. Now, eventually, he's going to mention him later on when no one can interpret Pharaoh's dreams. But for now, Joseph's forgotten again. It's like this up and down, up and down. And in so many ways, I think we can relate to Joseph. We may have dreams. We may have visions of a better life, but we go through ups and downs. And it's easy when we're in the downs to give up on our dreams. But don't give up. Joseph not only didn't give up on his dreams, he still kept his faith in God. And what a lesson for us it is, especially we always read this Torah portion right before Hanukkah. And Hanukkah's in 2 weeks, or Hanukkah's this weekend. Hanukkah's this Sunday night. We always read it the Shabbat of Hanukkah or right before Hanukkah. So Hanukkah's starting, this weekend, Sunday night, because Hanukkah, it's the darkest time of the year. The Jewish people were almost murdered and killed off by the Greek Assyrians, by their Hellenistic ways. But the Jews didn't give up. They kept their faith. They kept their dreams. And so there's this is no coincidence. There's a reason why we always read the Joseph story right as we approach Hanukkah. And so I think that's a message we as Jews and Christians share.
Well, I love the fact that you say Joseph didn't give up his faith in God. And I think we can say, because he didn't give up his faith in God, he also, to some degree, I think he was wiser, but he didn't give up his faith in people, because he says to the cupbearer, he says, remember me when you come, before Pharaoh. So he's even still trying to, keep that communication open. And I think to not give up on God means that we can't give up on God's creation. I mean, he's created human beings. We are flawed. We are really peculiar. I mean, when you just look at people, Rabbi, you and I are in the people business. It's just, it's just amazing, right? It's just amazing. The stories of people. We are complicated. We're not easy. And yet, we bear the nature, we bear the image of God, the Bible tells us, right? The image of God, we're created in his image. And so there's something redemptive, there's something beautiful, there's something eternal about every human being. And so Joseph tonight is our lesson that hold on to that place of dreaming. Be a little wiser than Joseph was. Save yourself some of Joseph's pain. Save yourself some of Joseph's aggravation. But hold on to those dreams. Hold on to that faith in God. And hold on to that faith in people. And the other reason I'm going to say that Joseph held on to faith in people is a couple chapters from now, he's going to welcome his brothers. He's going to weep. He's going to cry. And what has got to be one of the most climactic, scenes in all of Scripture, when Joseph reveals himself, I am your brother Joseph. I mean, this is that's Hollywood, baby, right there.
Yes.
I am your brother Joseph. And there's all of that. But he doesn't act in vengeance. He doesn't act in hatred. He doesn't act in spite. He says what? He says, you meant it for evil. God meant it for good. So Joseph chooses that place of mercy. And each of us can do that. Folks, we've had an amazing, amazing night here just before Hanukkah, studying with Rabbi Brian Strauss from Houston, Texas. We've been in Vayeshev, which is settled. Jacob's angst, Jacob's wrestling is finally going to be settled in his son Joseph and his brothers coming into a place of reconciliation together. And Rabbi, we're so grateful for your time. Just before we sign off here in a minute, give us a last closing thought here before Hanukkah, this season of lights, a last closing word of blessing.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always an honor. May God continue to bless you in your work, Bishop. And I think it's really beautiful this year. Hanukkah's late this year, so we'll celebrate the end of Hanukkah on Christmas. And so I think it's a blessing for both of our people, both of our traditions, that we both work hand in hand to continue to bring God's word into this world. And so being part of this gives me a blessing to do that tonight. So I appreciate it. And only blessings. Thank you, Bishop.
Now you have to make sure that you get the copy of this to your parents, because they're the ones.
I will. I can't wait to send it to them.
They're the ones that connect. Hi, Mom and Dad. I'll say hi to them. Listen, everybody. Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in tonight to Bishop and the Rabbi. Tomorrow night, we'll hop on at 6 p.m. and we'll welcome the Sabbath together. We'll welcome the Shabbat with the brachot at 6 p.m. Remember, Sabbath predates the Jewish people. Sabbath goes all the way back to Genesis, to the garden, where God says that it was even he rested. And so the Sabbath principle is for all of humanity. And so we invite you to join us tomorrow night for that. And Rabbi, again, thank you so much for being a part of things tonight. And everybody, let me encourage you to remember to keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem.